Hey, it's me, Vicky Marie, and good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are in this crazy world we're living in. Now, I'm not going to do any waffle today. I've got things to tell you about the memberships and what's happening on my channels, but I won't be doing it in this video. I just want to concentrate on the trial of this little baby, Preston Davey. Now, I've done one video about this already. The trial is continuing. I just want to give you a trigger warning. This is probably, I think it's, all the cases are difficult, aren't they? But this one is terrible. So this little baby, Preston Davey, adopted by two dads, who, in the short time that they had this baby, who is a gift from God. I mean, look at this baby. How many people are there in the world who can't have children, who are desperate to have children, and what they wouldn't have given to have a lovely little baby like this? What they wouldn't have given. And anyway, unfortunately for Preston, he was adopted by two guys who, do you know what? I don't even know what their names are without looking, but, just foul people who then systematically just did terrible things to Preston that culminated in his death. And they're currently on trial. So this is a 30-odd-year-old teacher and his partner. They both knew, it seems like it's the teacher guy that was doing the worst things to Preston, but the partner knew. He was sending him photos. He was making jokes about strangling him and killing him, and listen, this is going to upset you. It's going to make you angry. It's going to upset me. It's going to make me angry. That's why I'm not going into any waffle or anything in this. I've ummed and ahed about whether to even talk about it. I made the previous video about it, but do you know what? If people don't talk about this, Preston, who's talking for Preston? This little boy. So he was given away into care or taken into care. I'm not sure of the circumstances of why he was in care in the first place. So his biological parents either didn't want him or weren't capable of looking after him. He then had a foster mum for a while, and it seems like that with his foster mum, he did know love and he did experience some happy times in his sad little life. But then he was given to these monsters, and I asked in the previous video, what is the vetting procedure? These two men, I suppose, seem like paragons of virtue on the surface. One's a teacher in a committed relationship, nice home, probably good income between them. But, everything on the surface, it's not what it seems, is it? This little boy, as soon as he was put into their care, when the post-mortem was done on Preston, he had 40 injuries. And the thing is, not only that, there were photos and videos. He had been sexually taken advantage of on many occasions. A baby. How could you look at, what is wrong with somebody who looks at this baby and just sees sex or abuse? What sort of person is that? Honestly, as I say, often cases are upsetting, but to me, I just look at that little face. Wouldn't you just love a little baby like that in your life? So cute, so smiley, in between the attacks. He was smiley because babies don't know any different. How could you look at a baby and only see sex? Just something wrong with these people. Literally, they can't be helped. They can't be rehabilitated. They definitely cannot. Anyway, so that's the reason why I'm talking about this case. I'm following the trial. We will follow it through to them because they've pled not guilty, even though there's video evidence. Just so these are definite candidates for Twonks of the Year. We've had a few candidates already, haven't we? And it's only May. But these are definitely going on the list for Twonk of the Year when it comes to the end of the year. Thing is, Preston, remember Preston. Preston's name, he existed, he mattered. He mattered. Anyway, so I'm going to tell you what's happening in the trial so far. I'm going to show you a couple of videos. I'm going to play you the 999 call. That's very telling. In fact, we'll start with that, hey. We'll start with the 999 call. So this happened in Blackpool, I'm ashamed to say, in the north of the UK, not far from where I come from. I'm ashamed to think that this happened anywhere near where I come from. That these were people, who lived not far away from where I was born and brought up, and these horrible, horrible people. Anyway, let's I'm sorry. I mean, it's sort of thrown me completely, but I'm going to do it because Preston needs someone to speak for him. Who's going to speak for Preston? This little boy's biological parents either didn't want him or couldn't have him. At least his foster mum cared about him for a while, and then these two monsters adopted him. And they only wanted him for an accessory. That's why he was an accessory. He was always well dressed. He had all the toys, the house looks perfect. He was just an accessory in these people's life. They didn't care about him as a person. And in fact, in a way, he's had a lucky escape, because if this baby wouldn't have died, that abuse would have carried on and carried on. How long for? Probably all his life. He had a lifetime of abuse lined up in front of him, didn't he? So, maybe he's better off out of it. If he's gone to heaven and he's in the arms of Jesus, maybe he's better off. But of course, what would have been even better if he would have been brought up by, a normal family who loved him and cared for him and didn't abuse him. Just awful. Okay, so let me see. Where is I've got the 911 call set up. 999, sorry. Call set up somewhere. Oh, no, it's not that one. There's the 999 call. Of course, it's disappeared as things do. So what's interesting about the 999 call is what happened was they phoned the partner, not the guy who's supposed to have done the worst abuse, but his partner phoned 112 or whatever it is you phone in the UK, and then they put the phone down. So then the emergency, of course, they keep the number, don't they? And they rang back. So it seems like there was an original call put out, and then the 999 call, was then the authorities ringing them back, and you can clearly hear the teacher saying, "Put it down. Put it down." So he was telling them, he was telling his partner to cut it down, to put it down. Why has that disappeared? Why do things disappear off my when I get everything ready just before I start a live. Oh, there it is. There it is. Okay. Let me just make sure it's sharing. So as I say, I'm sorry, it is distressing content, and it's unpalatable. But if we don't watch it, what if we don't sort of learn about Preston and we don't talk about what's happened to him, we have to talk about him because we are his voice. I just say hello to people who are in the chat. Hi Daniel, hi Julie, and hi Kells Bells. Okay, people like to catch me out by changing their monikers. So let's listen to this 911 call. I'm sorry if I seem a bit disjointed with this, but it really has sort of flawed.
Just for it, yeah, that sounds like a male saying, "Put it down," and then it drops out.
Would you give me playback, please?
Of course, playback facility will not be available after this call is ended. Thank you.
Put it down.
So I don't know if you heard that. Let me know that you can hear this. So you, first of all, you hear the authorities talking between themselves, or the responders, and saying, "No, somebody just rang," and then they put the phone down, blah blah blah. And he says, "All right, I'll ring them back." And he rings up, and the first thing you hear is the teacher saying, "Put it down, put it down." Let's just hear that again from the beginning. I'm presuming you can hear it okay. Let me.
Line clear with no request, but just before it clear, it sounded like a male saying, "Put it down," and then it dropped out.
Would you give me playback, please?
Of course, playback facility will not be available after this call is ended. Thank you.
Put it down.
Put it
Yeah,
down.
that's when the line dropped out.
Right, okay. Leave it with me. I'll call them back. Thank you.
Thank you.
Cheers. Bye.
Hello?
Hello, it's the police.
Hello there, hi.
Hello, is everything okay?
Yes, everything's absolutely fine. We've just got an 11-month-old little baby boy, and I was just trying to look at getting some advice because he's breathing very, very heavily.
Oh, do you need the ambulance?
I dialed 112. I think I should have dialed 111.
Right, okay. Yeah.
He says everything's absolutely fine. No, it obviously clearly wasn't absolutely fine, because what had happened was Preston could not breathe properly because one of his dads had been abusing him with a part of his anatomy and sticking it down his throat. That's what had been happening. And Preston could not breathe. He'd been so badly damaged. So when that guy said, "Oh, it's the police," and he said, "Oh, yes, everything's absolutely fine." It wasn't absolutely fine. I'm going to play this again from the beginning.
Line clear with no request, but just before it cleared, it sounded like a male saying, "Put it down," and then it dropped out.
Would you give me playback, please?
Of course, playback facility will not be available after this call is ended. Thank you.
Put it down.
Yeah, that's when the line dropped out.
Right, okay. Leave it with me. I'll call them back. Thank you.
Thank you.
Cheers. Bye.
Hello?
Hello, it's the police.
Hello there, hi.
Hello, is everything okay?
Yes, everything's absolutely fine. We've just got an 11-month-old little baby boy, and I was just trying to look at getting some advice because he's breathing very, very heavily.
Oh, do you need the ambulance?
I dialed 112. I think I should have dialed 111.
Right, okay. Well,
No request, but just before it cleared, it sounded like a male saying,
No.
"Put it down," and then it dropped out.
So
Would you
Kelly,
give
you're asking
playback, please?
why the police called them, because if you ring emergency services and you put the phone down, they will ring you back because they get that happens here in Spain as well. You ring the police and if you cut off, or so they've rang, and then obviously they decided then not to, and they put the phone down and the calls dropped out. That's what the handlers were talking about at the beginning. And so they rang them back on the number because, of course, they've got a register of the number, haven't they? So they rang them back, told them to, that they needed an ambulance. I mean, it's a no-brainer, isn't it? You've got a baby that can't breathe. You're not going to piss about and wonder about whether you should phone an ambulance or not. Anybody would be straight on the phone to the ambulance if their baby couldn't breathe, except if they knew that their baby couldn't breathe because of what they've done to the baby. And that is, of course, the case. I keep calling the teacher guy. I don't even want to be bothered to look up his name. I think it's Jamie. What a horrible person. Anyway, you'll see in the other videos we're going to look at what a real he is. He's in his 30s. He's like a big kid calling for his mum. Calling for his mum. Mum, I want my mum. Oh, my God. Well, I'll tell you what, I feel for his mum, because she's brought up this monster, and that must be just a horrible thing to live with for her, because at the end of the day, this was her grandchild, and the only way she was going to get a grandchild, wasn't it? Because, at the end of the day, biologically, they couldn't have a child between them, so they adopted a child. It's quite fashionable these days. And what's really annoying as well about this case is this will make people look sideways at same-sex couples adopting children. There are children out there that need adopting, that need parents, need a loving family, and why not be a same-sex couple? But something like this happening, that makes them even worse, because they're just going to cast shade on every same-sex couple that adopts a baby. It's just, they're foul people. I mean, I honestly haven't even got words for expressing how foul they are. Not only for what they've done to this little one, but just for the whole. It just defies belief that anyone could look at a baby and think of sex. First of all, whatever, whether they're bloody, straight, gay, bent, curved, whatever. Who looks at a baby and it's a turn on? There's something wrong with them, to look at a baby in that way. And then to do it as well, to constantly be, anyway, never mind. So that was the call. So then off they went to the emergency department. So let's have a look at that video. This is the sort of case that I can get so angry about. Hi, Moonbeam. Hi, Pie in the Sky. Yeah. So that's what they did do after that then, Kelly. They got in the car, off they went to the hospital, and that's this video that we're going to look at. Let me just take the other one down because I have to close the windows, because otherwise I end up with too much. So this is them going to the hospital. This was CCTV released by the police showing Preston Davey being taken to hospital. I wonder if I'd be better off watching it on YouTube. It seems very small, that, doesn't it? So this is a CCTV from the hospital. Preston was in this hospital already. Could he breathe properly? Look at it. Look at these two. Honest to God, just lucky I can't get my hands on them, because I'm not joking. I could literally easily hurt these people. And, it wouldn't be right. It's not right. I'm not saying it's right. But I'm so angry towards them, what they did to that little defenseless baby. Just foul. And this dickhead with the Jurassic Park t-shirt on, he's the one that did the work. He's got Rupert Bear trousers on, pajama bottoms probably, and a Jurassic Park t-shirt on. He's in his 30s. Says a lot, doesn't it? And all he's worried about is what's going to happen to him. He doesn't care about Preston. As I say, in a way, Preston's been saved from a life of abuse by dying, really. Isn't that awful to actually, that's how it sort of made me feel, that little baby, if he wouldn't have died, what did he have in front of him? They'd adopted him. They'd already set off doing all these horrible things to him. He had 40 injuries on him. That's not going to get any better, is it, as he gets older, when he starts being a toddler and getting even more difficult to look after, apart from the sex abuse. He's got his head in his hands. Oh, yeah, he's heartbroken. He's heartbroken he's been caught out. He doesn't care about Preston. Preston's like a boy. Foul. So now we can look at the wine in the make sure this one's sharing. Hi, Lily. Right, is this one sharing? So this is a Sky News video of him breaking down in tears and getting hysterical. This was body cam footage. Can you hear it? Okay, let's go back to the beginning. So he's whining. He's whining. He was in his chair. So that nurse then just said to him, "Your son needs you, Jamie. Your son needs you." God, that poor kid, that he was the last thing that kid needed, that baby needed. Well, the last thing he needed was that idiot in his Jurassic Park t-shirt whining, crying for himself, not for little. Yeah, your son needs you. Yeah, whatever. Mom, crying for his mom. Please. Now, what we have to remember is when at this point the medical staff didn't know like the extent of what he had done to little Preston. So he's saying, just kill me, just kill me. I'm sure maybe if they would have known, maybe one of them would have obliged. He's calling for his mum. He's there in his Jurassic Park t-shirt and Rupert Bear pajamas. He's in his 30s. He's head of year at a school. Honestly, you just think, how did he get, where are the checks and balances that people didn't spot that this guy is a bloody lunatic? But you know what? Just shows you, this is what we always say, these monsters, they don't come out under a full moon slobbering and covered in tattoos and facial hair. They are living amongst us, working amongst us, working with our children. You know, this guy was working with children, and all the time he's doing these terrible things to that lovely, beautiful little boy. Oh, just defies belief, this case. There he is. They're the both are. So this is his partner. He's thought to have taken a lesser role, but he still knew about it. Knew about it all. He'd seen the photos. It's like they ordered Preston. I want my mum. So do you know what I'd say to any of you out there who have got children at school, young children at school? Bloody try and find out a bit more about their teachers. This is the person who was head of year at school, and he's crying out there after he's written, you know, to all intents and purposes, murdered his little baby son. He is crying out, I want my mum. I want my mum. This is head of year at school. What the hell? Honestly, talk about the Twilight Zone. You know, quite often I feel like I'm living in the Twilight Zone. And cases like this, you just hope you're living in a parallel universe where these sort of things don't happen. How could it happen? How could he do it? What sort of person? So there he is crying for his mum, and I really feel for his mum. I don't know how she feels when she found out all the truth of what was going on. You know, a couple of hours before Preston died, she was bouncing him on her knee. Jamie's mum was bouncing Preston on her knee and singing to him, if you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. Do you remember that song? That's, you know, a classic song, isn't it? That we see, well, in the UK anyway, I don't know if in other countries, that you sing to your kids, you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. So just a couple of hours before this little baby was murdered effectively by him and his member, because of him sticking his what's-it down Preston's throat, that he damaged him so badly he couldn't breathe. His mum, that he's crying for in this video, was bouncing that little boy on her knee and singing, if you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. It's like some dystopian nightmare. Just unbelievable. And you know what? I want to send out my love to that jury that are having to sit and listen to all this, the judge who's trying the case. This is difficult to get through. Right, we'll watch that one more time and then I'll go on to the next video. I hope you oh, not no sound again. Okay, one moment. Right, I've got to remove it and put it back. try again. Normally, when I put it back on the second time, you can hear it. So let me know if you can hear this when I just start playing it now.
He was on the floor in his room and he was being sick. And we rushed him to
Right, see if you can hear it now.
He was in his chair. Jamie. Your son needs you. Mum. I can't. No. Mum. No. I know. No.
Jamie, come on.
No, I can't. Please kill me. Please.
Jamie.
He was on the floor in his room and he was being sick.
Okay, let's go back to the beginning. I don't know why it does that. But sometimes it works perfectly. Other times I have to take it off and then put it back on again. But anyway, so I'm playing it from the beginning. And I'm not.
He was in his chair. Jamie, your son needs you. Mum. I can't now. No. Mum. No. I know. No.
Jamie, come on.
No, I
Jamie,
can't. Please kill me. Please.
Jamie,
Kill me. Terrible.
He was on the floor in his room and he was being sick. We rushed him to hospital. It's one of when they got
Jamie.
He was in his chair.
Jamie.
Your son needs you. Mum.
Jamie, come on.
Jamie, listen to me. Mum.
Yeah, fuck off. So, he's denying the charges. Apparently, at the same time, he said, I'm going to hell. I hope he is going to hell, honest to God. I just feel nothing for this man, like no sympathy, nothing. This man is cruel, callous. And all he's crying for there and calling for his mum because he's worried about himself. Didn't care about Preston. And, you know, as I say, I feel for his mum, but you know what? I think if that was my child, my son, I think I'd kill him myself with my own bare hands because, I mean, I don't know what it must have been like for her to find out what he'd been doing. Or does she believe he's innocent? Because they're both pleading guilty. They're both pleading not guilty, even though there's video evidence of abuse against Jamie, against Preston. So what they originally said was it happened in the bath, or well, they've come out with they told lots of lies in the beginning. Of they just found him like that. He was sitting in his chair, you know, he said that, didn't he? And then he was in the bath and they said that, you know, they'd left him just for a couple of seconds and they came back and he was submerged. But during the forensic examination, there was no water in his lungs. So obviously they knew that that isn't what had happened. So they made all sorts of excuses you know. Anyway, it was all rubbish, but they're still pleading not guilty. I think this is the other thing that just shows you what selfish twonks they are. Why didn't they just plead guilty? Why are they pleading not guilty and making everyone go through this? Okay, so I'm going to just read you the latest update on the trial. It's still continuing, of course. I'll share this article. No, I just haven't got words, and I am so angry and so sad. And this is why I could never be, a proper journalist. I could only be a gonzo journalist because I get too emotionally involved. I cannot detach from cases like this. So the teacher accused of murdering baby Preston Davey begged medics, don't let him die. And think about that medical staff as well and what they had to face. They couldn't save this little boy. They've got to live with that as well. And then especially afterwards, when they found out what was really going on in that bloody house of horrors. They all look lovely on the surface. Preston's always perfectly dressed. They'd take him out, I'm sure, as their little accessory to their lifestyle. But really, he was just like you just feel like they could have ordered him from Ann Summers or something. That they wanted a baby to abuse. And that baby, that boy, he would have just endured abuse his whole life, wouldn't he? Or until he got old enough maybe to stand up for himself. So, yeah, Jamie Varley, 37, he's shouting for his mum. And in his bloody Jurassic Park t-shirt and Rupert Bear pyjama bottoms, he's head of year at a school. Mr. sort of, to all intents and purposes, sort of like, this shirt and tie at school and being head of year or whatever he was, presenting this picture of a responsible adult when really he's wearing a Jurassic Park t-shirt and shouting for his mum at that age. So he rushed 13-month-old Preston Davey to Blackpool Victoria Hospital unconscious in his arms. Medics worked for nearly an hour to resuscitate the child until a decision was made that further intervention was futile and life was pronounced extinct at 7:18 p.m. on July the 27th, 2023. Varley, at the time a high school teacher, is accused of the murder of the child, and his partner, John McGowan, found what a fuck off, 32, of allowing the death of the child, with both accused of sexual abuse. During the 4 months the baby was under their adoption at their home in Blackpool, he was allegedly, even though there's video evidence, routinely ill-treated. He had indecent images and videos taken of him. He was sex abused and physically assaulted, with a post-mortem examination identifying 40 injuries. On the day he died at around 6:25 p.m, paramedic Simon Crabb was outside the ambulance bay and he saw Varley running with a floppy baby in his arms and told him the child was not breathing. Mr. Crabb said the other parent was present and calmer, but had a look of terror in his eyes. Yeah, I bet he did. Now, the thing we have to remember is the terror, the panic, wasn't for Preston. It was for themselves. They knew that they were going to get caught out, didn't they? So Preston Crown Court, the trial's taking place. Isn't that where the Nicola Bulley inquest was held? So he took the child and began giving mouth-to-mouth rescue breaths as he ran inside the accident and emergency department, and a crash team was scrambled. Preston was given chest compressions and oxygen, while other medics rushed to help and specialist equipment was readied. Mr. Crabbe said Varley was hysterical and told him he had left the baby in the bath. So this was his first story. He left the baby in the bath while he had a shower, and he returned 3 to 4 minutes later. And he said that Varley told him, "Don't let him die. Please don't let him die." An emergency team worked for up to an hour on the child, but he could not be revived. Dr. Wendy Aubrey, a senior anaesthetist, had intubated Preston. That is, inserted a small tube into his throat and got oxygen to his lungs. She told the jury she did not see any water in his mouth or airways, saying there was no water in his lungs. I would have expected water in his lungs. She said it was standard practice to invite family in to see their child under resuscitation. That surprised me, that. I mean, I suppose, I don't know, how do you keep them out, really? How do, if it was your baby being resuscitated, you would want to be there, wouldn't you, Anyway, so apparently it's standard practice to let parents come in. And so both the defendants and Varley's mother. So he's a real mummy's boy, this Varley, isn't he? This Jamie Varley, this monster. Real mummy's boy, shouting for his mum at 30-odd years, nearly 40 years of age. He's shouting for his mum after he's murdered a baby, her grandson. The other dad was very dramatic. Oh, so she said, I recall one dad was quite subdued, but the other dad was very dramatic, and more dramatic than I have seen parents previously, a bit chaotic. He would not stand still and let people support him, and he would not listen to what has been said. He was initially shouting, "Don't let him die." And he said, "I effing killed him." Yeah, you did. You did. After efforts to revive Preston had ended, Dr. Aubrey said the same parent identified in the medical notes as Varley then tried to give chest compressions himself and mouth-to-mouth resuscitation to Preston. Despite the breathing tube still being in place. So then he tried to interfere with the resuscitation of Preston, because he knew this was the end of his life as he knew it, because he'd been caught out. So she added, I really had to be quite firm and tell him to stop because of what he was continuing trying to do to Preston. Sorry, I've gone all nasally. Dr. Anthony Kearns, lead consultant in the accident and emergency department, who tried to save Preston, said he had been told the child had been pulled from water. But the child was completely dry. They had a nappy in situ, which appeared to be appropriately placed. And 4 hours before the hospital visit, Varley had visited his mother's house. So jurors were shown a video clip he had taken and sent to his co-accused, who was at work, of Preston being bounced on his grandma's knee. And she is singing, "If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands," with Preston smiling and clapping his hands along to the song. So this man, honestly, the devil is walking amongst us. Seriously, I'm not even joking. I've really come to believe this. So this man, he takes his baby to his mum's house. She's playing with him. Little Preston is smiling and clapping his hands as his grandma. He was probably happy to be with his grandma. Because as someone pointed out in the comments, because he'd been with a foster mum before he went to them. So whatever you think about same-sex couples adopting children, he will have missed a woman's voice because he'd only had a short life, but in his short life he had been used to a woman's voice, and now he's at a house where there's two men. So he probably enjoyed it when he went to his Gmail's house and they could hear a woman's house again and she's bouncing him on her knee, doing that "if you're happy, if you know it, clap your hands" song. I'm glad he had some happy moments that day, that little one. So it is alleged that after leaving her house to go home, Varley subjected the child to a final sex assault. That's what killed him. I don't know how his mum's going to feel about all this. Anyway, so he's been charged and denies murder, manslaughter, 2 counts of assault by penetration, 5 counts of cruelty to a child, grievous bodily harm, sex assault of a child, 13 counts of taking indecent photos or videos of a child, 1 of distributing an indecent photo of a child to his co-accused. So his co-accused, although there's no proof that he participated in the ABUSE, he saw a photo of it, he knew all about it. And 1 of making an indecent photo. Those are his charges. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine those charges? Now, you know, YouTube's going to demonetize this video like they did the last one that I did about little Preston. I don't care. I don't care about them demonetizing it. It irritates me that they do that because the problem is when they limit the, because that's basically when you say that YouTube demonetizes a video. Basically, what it means is they won't push it for they deem it's unsuitable for ads. So they won't push it into the algorithm because they won't put any ads on it. And if they don't put any ads on it, YouTube aren't making, so they're not doing it for the goodness of the heart. It's only because they're not making any money out of it. So they're not interested in pushing it out to the algorithm because it's an important case, and to speak for Preston, or that Preston's name needs to be remembered and it needs to be known what these hateful men have done. That's not why YouTube do it. It's just because they're not making any money out of it, so it's like, it's annoying because that they will not push it out there. They will. So please share this video. If you do nothing else, to share it. I mean, watching it, of course, is always the best thing that you can do, liking, subscribing, all those things. But share it, because YouTube won't share it because of the nature of it, because it's about abuse of a child. And I understand that, but it's not about encouraging abuse of a child, is it? It's saying how horrible it is. It makes me angry, YouTube, when they do that, because Preston's his story needs to be told. Someone has to speak for Preston. And if we don't do it, he hasn't got biological parents to do it for him. I'm sure his foster mum is doing what she can. But, it's like Preston deserves a voice, and these horrible men, everyone needs to know them for what they are. Because I think even if they're found guilty, I don't know how long the sentence will be that they'll get. They're likely to be out one day, maybe 15, 20 years in the future, even if they're found guilty and sentenced. But I just want everybody to know about these people and what they've done. So his partner, McGowan, Fazzer, whatever, denies allowing the death of a child. They're both denying it. 3 counts of child cruelty. and 1 count of the sex assault of a child. So do you know what? They're as bad as each other. They're horrible, vile men, and they bring discredit to their sexuality as well, because people will be looking at this case and casting shade on other same-sex couples that adopt children. You know, it's just disgusting what they're doing in all. There's just nothing positive, is there? You know, it's like they adopted him just to abuse him. That's how I think it is. He was just, you know, a child to carry on. Say, oh, we've got a child, we've got a child. You know, and then in the meantime, do whatever that, you know, abuse that child. And in the meantime, that little boy is still smiling through it all. So the trial was adjourned till Wednesday morning. So where are we now? I think we're on Thursday. So there's probably been more things have happened. Anyway, yeah, it has affected my mental health, this case. You know, I did that video about it a few days ago, and then I tried not, you know, I can't do one every day about it. And then today I thought, but I can't let it go either. You know, I cannot not say anything for this baby. I just can't. Because you know what? When I look at his little face, look, I mean, you can't fail but be touched by him. And I just think how many people out there that are desperate for children would have loved to have had Preston, to have adopted Preston, had him as their baby. You know, he's so happy, he's so cute. He's, you know, so many families probably out there just would have loved to have had Preston, and they would have treated him properly. And then these two monsters ended up getting him. And there's a lesson here, you see. There is a lesson here. The vetting procedure needs to be better. You know, I said in the last video, I think they should, if somebody wants to adopt a child, they should volunteer all their electronic devices. That, personally, I think they should. All their social media, they should be checked out properly. You can't just go, you know, giving babies to people. They're bound to have some history. He's not got to late 30s, and then that's the first time he's ever abused a child. I don't believe that for a minute. So he'll have, even if he hasn't actually done it to any children before, because he's not had the opportunity, he definitely have child abuse on his phone or his computers or whatever. You don't get to your late 30s and then suddenly think, oh, I think I'll go and abuse a child. You know, that's always been in him. Must have been, and there'll be history there. So, yeah, I personally think if anyone, and I'm not just talking about same-sex couples, anyone, you want to adopt a baby or any child, you know, you have to be vetted properly. Now, the thing is, anyone physically can have a child and they don't get vetted, do they? You know, like you can, you know, people get pregnant all the time who probably shouldn't really have children. You can't stop that. You can't do anything about that. But when someone's adopting a child, especially babies are especially vulnerable because they can't talk. You know, so Preston couldn't go to his grandma and say, oh, do you know what my dad did to me yesterday? Do you know what I mean? At least when they're older, maybe if they have some other trusted member in the family, they might speak about what happens to them or whatever. But babies can't talk. You know, Preston's there smiling and giggling and probably a couple of hours before even this picture, maybe he'd been abused. But you just wouldn't ever know, would you? It's disgusting. They're disgusting people. Yeah, and you're right. It has affected my mental health, and you know, it's, I mean, I just haven't got any words. I haven't got any words. But anyway, I haven't got any words. And I know you all feel the same, you know, but the thing is as well, although it's a very distressing case, knowing that other people feel the same is, you know, there's, you know, what the hell is going on? You know, sometimes it does help when, you know, I'm reading about this story, just me, and, you know, it's not the sort of thing you can really talk to people about, but I can come on to the channel and talk about it, at least you feel, and you're talking to like-minded people, and it does make you feel better that other people share your sense of outrage. You know, it's because, you know, sometimes you think, oh my God, is it just me? Am I the only person that thinks, you know, the world carries on turning, doesn't it? These horrible cases happen and keep happening, and they always have happened and they always will happen. The world keeps on turning, this crazy world. But at least then when you come on to when I come on to my channel and, you know, the chatters, I can see that you all feel that same outrage, and that makes it just a little bit easier, really, because I know that there's like-minded people out there, you know, so that's important. Yeah. Yes, you're right, Moonbeam. Exactly. People who abuse children, they look for jobs with children, and yet seem respectable. They groom everyone around them. It's very difficult, isn't it, to cut? Because the thing is, we need teachers. We need teachers, and we need male teachers, because, you know, when I was young, we had a lot of male teachers, probably more male teachers than female teachers, to be honest. Now, you know, I do know, even at my school, it's funny, isn't it? Because we knew of 2 teachers who were having affairs with pupils, but I never told my parents about it. You know, there's one girl I remember, she was about 14, 15. She was having an affair with the physics teacher. And then the headmaster was supposedly, and he was an old man, having an affair with another girl that was the same age as me at the time, again, maybe 14. These were sort of open secrets in my school. It's awful, really, isn't it, when you think about it? I mean, this is like 40 years ago. Those teachers are probably not even alive now, but because you do get crushes on your teachers. You know, I think young people do get crushes on their teachers, male and female. That is just something that happens. But of course, now we've gone from that, you know, then like it was happening, and as pupils, we knew it was happening, but we never told our parents about it. It seems awful now. And now, of course, is a hypersensitivity, but I prefer the hypersensitivity. This guy, he slipped through the cracks, didn't he? So he was head of the year at his school, but it was a high school, not dealing with very young children. So I wonder what they all think of him. Do you imagine, like, you know, the parents of the children at that school, as he was head of the year? What do they think about it all now, knowing that their children were being taught by him, even though they're older children? It's terrible, isn't it? I expect it's caused a massive scandal in Blackpool, you know. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, thank you for watching. Thank you for caring about Preston. And I will see you really soon in the next video, which will be the next video about Preston. Hopefully this trial will finish soon, but so in a few days I'll give you another update. Anyway, thank you for watching. Thank you for caring. Take care of yourselves, and I'll see you really soon in the next video. And until then, may your God go with you. Thank you so much. Bye.
room.